This conference will now be recorded.
So in the last class, we have started with exception handling. The meaning of exception is a runtime error. Means once we type the code, when we run the application, during runtime we get errors. That errors only we call runtime errors, or even we call them as exceptions. And once exception occurs, the program will get terminated. It won't go with the remaining piece of code. So to avoid that abnormal termination only, we go for exception handling. And how to go with exception handling? By using try and catch block. So we have seen the code now. By using this try and catch block, the statements which you feel exception may occur, like example here we have taken n1 by n2. So when you divide a number by other number, and if the second number is 0, it goes with an exception. And whenever exception occurs, the control will jump to catch block. In catch block, we are going to display the message here, like divide by 0, not allowed. So the statements which you feel exception may occur, you keep that statements in try block and handle the exceptions in catch block. Handle means just providing the message what went wrong. That's the meaning of handle the exception. Then we have seen the runtime exceptions like arithmetic exception, array index out of bounds exception, string index out of bounds exception, negative array size exception, number format exception, and null pointer exception. Today, let us move to the remaining part, like we go with the try with multiple catch blocks, finally block, and user defined exceptions. So let us initially go with try with multiple catch blocks. The syntax of try with multiple catch block is we use a keyword try and we go with a set of statements. We feel exception may occur. When we get exception in try block, it will go to catch block and we can handle any type of exception using exception class. Using exception class, we can handle any type of exception. Now, the objective is in this try block, there is a chance of getting different exceptions. In this try block, there is a chance of getting multiple exceptions. Based on the exception type we want to handle, means based on the exception type, we want to provide the message to the user. So then we go with multiple catch block like this. Exception type 1, then we handle based on type 1. Catch exception type 2, we handle based on exception type 2. Once we see the code now, this concept is very simple. Like that, how many catch blocks we want to go, you can go and you can say catch exception type n can handle based on type n. Handle based on type n here. So what is this try with multiple catch block? We can go with one try block with some set of statements. Then in this try block, if there is a chance of getting multiple exceptions, based on exception type, we want to handle it. In that case, we go for multiple catch blocks. So you can say it is used to provide proper message to the user based on exception type. Right? Now, once we see the code, the concept of multiple catch block is very simple. Let us understand with the example code. Multiple catch demo. Open Eclipse. So we have created a package, exceptions. So right click on exceptions package and say new class. Multiple catch demo with main method. In this, we'll go with the try block. In try block, we are writing the code like this: int n1 equal to integer dot parseInt args of 0. We are going with command line arguments here again. What is the use of this string array args I mentioned in the last class? To store command line arguments. Then int into equal to integer dot parseInt args of 1. Then we'll say int result equal to n1 by n2. We are dividing first number with second number. Then display the value of result. Now, in this try block, which exceptions may occur? Can anyone say which exceptions may occur in this try block?
n1 divided by 0.
Yeah, what is the exception that? What is the name of the exception? Divided by 0 is?
Mathematical error.
Yeah, arithmetic exception. Divided by 0 is arithmetic exception, means when we give the second number as 0, then it is going to throw arithmetic exception divided by 0. So that one exception we get. Can you identify some more exceptions here? Is there any chance of getting some more exceptions? It is very, very easy to identify. See here, whenever we are having slash operator, your thinking should go to arithmetic exception. Are we using arrays in this program? Yes. See, we are using arrays here. So when we are using arrays, your thinking should go to array index out of bound exception. So why we get array index out of bound exception here? We are reading two command line arguments. And if you go with only one command line argument or no arguments, but you are trying to read that index value, then it goes array index out of bounds exception. And one more, you are going with parsing. When we go with parsing, number format exception. If we give argument value as some XX, we cannot convert into primitive integer type. It goes with number format exception. Slash means arithmetic exception. Arrays means array index out of bound exception. Parsing means number format exception. That's the way to identify. Now, so here we write catch. If it is arithmetic exception, then we'll provide the message to the user. Divide by 0, not allowed. Divide by 0, not allowed. Then again one more catch block. If it is going with array index out of bounds exception, then we'll provide the message require 2 numbers. Get enter 2 numbers. If it is going with number format exception, then we'll go with the message enter only numbers. Now, can we guarantee that we get only these 3 exceptions? No guarantee. It may go with any other runtime exception. So we have to go with this one, catch runtime exception, where we'll display the message runtime exception occurred. So one more catch block suggestion, exception. Exception is we can handle any type of exceptions, either checked or unchecked. We'll just go with the message exception occurred. So this last two catch blocks only suggestion is one. Now let us run the code. So when you are going with command line arguments, how to run the code? Right click and say run as, run configurations. Then choose the class which you want to run. So in our case it is multiple catch demo. Then go to arguments and pass the arguments like 10 and 5 separated by space. When we say run, we get the result as 2. 10 by 5 is 2. Now if you run the code again, and if we go to arguments and give the second argument as 0, 10 by 0 is undefined, which goes with arithmetic exception. Then we are getting the message say divided by 0, not allowed. Now Let us run the code again. If you go to arguments and if you pass only one argument or no arguments, it generates array index out of bounds exception and the message saying I require 2 numbers. If you run the code again and if you pass the argument value as some xx, so we cannot convert xx into primitive integer, so it generates number format exception. Then we go with the message enter only numbers. So based on exception type, when you want to go with different messages, proper message to the user, we go with multiple catch blocks. Clear everyone? The need of multiple catch blocks? No. We are having one very important syntax rule here. If you make first catch block as exception, and the last one like arithmetic exception, see if you observe we are getting compile time error. The reason is this exception, it is a superclass of all these exception classes, right? Yesterday we have seen the diagram. Exception is a superclass of all these types of exceptions. So when you write first catch block as exception, then first catch block only can handle all types of exceptions. Then what is the meaning of writing these catch blocks? No meaning. That's the reason the rule in multiple catch block is the order of catch block cannot be from superclass to subclass. The order of catch blocks cannot be from super to subclass. Any other order is fine, but super to subclass is not allowed. What is the point to remember? The syntax rule. Try with multiple catch blocks. The order of catch blocks cannot be from superclass to subclass. Right? So anyone having any questions up to here? No. Let us move to the next one. One more simple topic, finally block. Finally block is executed irrespective of exception present in a block. Finally block is what? Executed what? Irrespective of exception present in try block. Means even there is an exception in try block or no exception, then your finally block will get executed automatically. The syntax is we use a keyword try, then we go with some set of statements. Then if you get an exception in try block, it will go to catch block. In catch block, we handle the exception. In catch block, we handle the exception. Then we go with finally block. Here we go with some set of statements. In try block, if you get an exception, it will go to catch block and handles the exception and continues down also. It will even go to finally block. In try block, no exception. In try block, no exception, then it won't go to catch block, but it will go to finally block. Yeah. So where we use finally block, let us understand. We are having a try block. In try block, we are doing a database connection. We are getting what? A database connection. After getting the database connection, we are doing some transactions on the database. Once all the transactions are completed, then we do the closing operation. See here. So what we are doing here, we are having a try block. In try block, we are doing the database connection. We are going with what? A database connection. Then after getting database connection, we are doing some transactions on the database. After completion of all transactions, we are doing the closing operation. Now, hello, Hafiz.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah. Now, so in try block, if you get an exception, it will go to catch block and we handle the exception. Now let us suppose in transaction 2 we got an exception. Then, so when you get exception in transaction 2, then will this closing operation happens now? Will the closing operation happens now? Yesterday only I discussed. So if you get an exception in try block, the control will jump to catch block and continues down only. Will it come and execute the remaining part of try block statements? No. So what is going to happen here? Whenever an exception occurs, the control will jump from here to here. And it will go with catch block and continues down. But the remaining part of try block will not get executed. So the closing operation will not happen. But the objective is, even exception occurs or does not occur. Even exception occurs or does not occur in try block, we want to do this closing operation compulsory. So in that case, we keep this closing operation in finally block. We keep the closing operation where? In finally block. Now, even if you get exception in try block or no exception, this piece of code will get executed compulsory. So closing operation will happen compulsory. So finally block is generally used to do the closing operations. What is the main use of finally block? Finally block is generally used to do the closing operations. So when we come to JDBC topic, I'll be showing this concept practically to you. Now, the next concept is user-defined exceptions. So before we go to user-defined exceptions, let me go with one method here. Very, very important method, which I'm going to use more when we are writing the programs. toString method. toString method. So let us go with the program directly. toString demo. So right click on exceptions and say new class string demo. Main method. Here in this one, we are taking a class product. We are taking a class product with the product ID, product name, and price. Now to give the value to this, data members, we make use of constructor. So we are creating a constructor which takes product ID as argument, product name, and price. And we'll set the values. This dot PID equal to PID. This dot pname equal to pname. This dot price equal to price. When a class contains parameters constructed, it is suggested to go with default constructor. Now the class is ready. Now coming to main method, here we create object of product class. Product equal to new product. So the constructor will pass a product ID, the product name, and price. Now the object is ready with values. Now in system.out.println, we'll print the product object. You are printing the product object directly. Now see the result here. The output is important to understand. See how you are getting output. It's going with the class name along with some number, at the rate some number, and this we call hash code. This we call what? Hash code. Hash code is something like address for your object, but we cannot go to that address and modify. Not possible in Java. So what it is returning, say, it's returning the class name along with the hash code. Means here, see, whenever we print an object in SOP, understand carefully. Whenever we print an object in SOP, it is going to invokes toString method implicitly. Invokes toString method implicitly. So whenever we print objects in SOP, it is going to invoke which method automatically? toString. Then, does your product class have toString method? In product class, do you have any toString method? No, right? There is no toString method. Then, product class extends which class? Product class extends which class?
toString demo.
Yeah, can you repeat, Uday?
toString demo.
toString, no, toString demo
No,
is separate class, product is separate class. Both are different
okay.
classes.
Right.
Just think, we have already discussed. Whenever you create a class and if you are not using extends keyword, Java will write implicitly extends one class. What is that?
Product class.
Scanner. How
The
come scanner is coming here?
default class, right?
What is the topmost class in Java?
Object.
In line package I discussed. Object.
Oh,
Don't
right.
forget, if you recap it, you can easily understand. So
Exactly.
any class in Java, it is a subclass of which class? Object class. So
Uh-huh.
when you are not writing extends here, when you are not writing extends, Java will write internally extends object, right?
Right.
Java will write here extends object. So product is a subclass of which class? You have to say object. You have to say what? Object. Then if there is no toString method in your product class, then it will go to toString method of which class? Object class. If there is no method, in your class, it always goes to base class methods, right? Since there is no toString method here in product class, it will go to the toString method of which class? Object class. And what is the role of toString method of object class? The role of toString method of object class is it returns the class name of your object along with the hash code. Okay, so what are the points here? When an object is displayed in SOP, toString method is invoked implicitly. Somewhat confusion topic, but if you recap, it will be very easy. And I'll be keep on using this concept at many places in future also. Then finally, toString concept will be simple for you. So whenever we print object in SOP, toString method is invoked automatically implicitly. Then toString method belongs to object class. It's a method of which class? Object class. Then toString method of object class. toString method of object class returns the class name along with the hash code of object. Along with the hash code of objects here, when we run, it's returning the class name along with some number. So is it a readable output for you? Can you able to understand this output? No, right? We are unable to understand this output. So to represent the object value, to represent this object value in readable format, and since there is no toString method here, it is going to toString method of object class. So whenever you don't want to go to base class methods, whenever you want to change the implementation of base class methods, what concept we have to apply? Overriding. So here we are going to override toString method in your class. Always remember what is the need of going with overriding. Whenever we want to change the implementation of base class methods, we go with the concept of overriding. Here we will say return product ID, then space, product name, space price. Now see, when we run, we get the data in readable format. So what is the point here? To represent the object value in string or readable format, we need to override. toString method in the class. Just a blind rule is, whenever we are printing an object of a class, the simple rule is that class contains toString method. It's a blind rule to remember. So whichever the class object you are displaying in SOP, either it may be predefined or user defined, that class we should override toString method. If it is predefined, already toString method will be present. And if you are creating your own classes, we have to override toString method. So as the days goes on, this concept of toString will be simple for you. So don't get confused too much now. Clear? Any questions? No. Let us move to the next one, the last concept in these exceptions. Very simple one, user defined exceptions.
Sir, can you explain one more time toString object?
See, simple way to remember is, you are creating object of a class, right? Is this point clear? Then once you create an object of a class, when you print object in SOP, up to now we are not printing objects. We are just printing separately one by one. But you are printing object only, directly only object here. So when you print objects in SOP, always remember we have to override toString method in your class. In toString method, what we have to written? The values of your data members. Whatever you written, that will get printed for us. That's a simple point to remember finally. Clear, Sarita?
Yes.
Right? So recap it one more time. You recap today, and as we keep on moving now, so now in this user defined exceptions also, I'll be discussing about, after this I'll be discussing about once again toString method. Once we go to multi-threading, again we discuss toString method. When we go to collections, we discuss toString method. IO package, we discuss toString method. So many places I'm going to use. Then it will become easy for you finally. Today we feel confusion of codes. Okay, all of you? Now let us go with this user defined exceptions or custom exceptions. Custom means our own. User defined exceptions are created by creating a class which is a subclass of exception class. How to go with user defined exception? Just we have to create our own class and make that class as subclass of exception class. Like example, you can check class my exception which extends exception. Then the code what we write inside the class is, we have to just create a constructor. We have to go with a constructor which takes string message as argument. The message what you want to display for your exception, that we pass like argument, and that argument we give it to the superclass constructor. So who is superclass here? Exception. So whatever the message you pass to this constructor, that message we give it to the superclass constructor. And when a class contains parameterized constructor, as a programmer we have to go with default constructor. That's it. Your user defined exception is ready to use. Now let us understand this with an example code. After that, concept of user defined exception is simple for us. So create a user defined exception, age exception. Create a user defined exception. What? The name of the exception is age exception. Create a class customer. Create a class customer with a method setAge. With a method setAge, which takes age as an argument. takes age as an argument. If the age is less than 18 or greater than 60, then it should throw age exception with the message age should be between 18 and 60. Here our own exception names, our own messages. That concept only, user defined exceptions. Let me go with the program. Custom exception demo. Right click on exceptions package and say new class custom exception test. In this one, we are creating our own exception, age exception. How to create? Just to create a class, the name of the exception, and should be a subclass of exception. What is the code we should write? Just to create a constructor which takes string message as argument, then give that message to the superclass constructor. Then create default constructor. That's it. Your user defined exception is ready to use. Now create a class customer with a method setAge, which takes age as an argument. Now check here. If the value of age is less than 18 or if age greater than 60, if you give age as less than 18 or more than 60, then we should throw age exception. So whenever you want to throw an exception, we have to use a keyword throw. Throw keyword is used for what purpose? To throw an exception. So to this throw keyword, we have to throw an object of age exception. How to create object of age exception? New age exception. To create objects, new age exception, new employee, new student, like that. No, new age exception, and pass the message. Age should be between 18 and 60. Whenever the exception occurs, it's going to throw an object of age exception class, and this message will come and store into this message argument, which we are giving to superclass constructor. Superclass constructor will take care of displaying the message back to us. Else means if the age is valid, we'll go with the message your age, the value of age. That's it. Now if you observe, under throw keyword we are getting compile time error. Under throw keyword we are getting compile time error. The reason is here we are having a syntax rule. In a method, whenever we use throw keyword to throw an exception, in a method, whenever we use throw keyword to throw an exception, then for that method we have to specify throws the exception what you are throwing. It's a syntax rule. Now see, there is no error. What is the point here? In a method, whenever we throw an exception using throw keyword, then for that method we have to specify throws and the exception what you are throwing. That's it. Now this will become what? This setAge method will become like checked exception now. So yesterday I discussed checked exceptions now. Whenever you call a method and if that method is throwing some exception, we have to call the method in between try and catch block. Now in main method, create object of customer, and using object if you call the method setAge and if you pass 12, see we are getting compile time error, because whenever you call a method and if that method is throwing some exception, then we have to call this method in between try and catch block. Call the method in between try and catch block. That's it. Now see when we run, we are getting say age exception. Age should be between 18 and 60. So if you pass something like 22, no problem. It will say your age is 22. If you pass 12, since the condition is true here, it is going to throw the age exception. So it throws age exception, age should be between 18 and 60. So our own exception names, our own messages. That is the concept of user defined exceptions. Got it everyone? Any questions? No. Let us go with the concept here, like methods of throwable class. What is throwable? It's a topmost class in exception hierarchy. What is a topmost class in Java hierarchy? Is object. The topmost class in exception hierarchy is throwable. It goes with the methods like string to string. Just now we discussed the toString method. So toString method is overridden in throwable class. And what is the use of this? Represents the object value in string format. So here observe, we are printing object in SOP. So when you print object in SOP, so it is going to invoke what here? Invokes toString method implicitly. It invoke which method implicitly? toString method. So now when you run, who is taking care of displaying this output in this format? Who is taking care of displaying the output in this format? toString method of throwable class. Okay. So whenever you print objects in SOP, remember your thinking should go to which method? toString method. We're having one more method, string get message. Returns the message of exception. We want to display only the message of exception. We are not worried about the exception name. We are not worried about exception name. We are worried about only the message of exception. Then here we have to call the method e.getMessage. So whenever we call the method e.getMessage, then it is going to return only the message of your exception, only the message. Okay. Then we're having one more method, print stack trace. Print stack trace. The use of this method is displays the root cause of exception. Displays the root cause of exception like this. E.print stack trace. When we run, it will display the exception name, the message, along with the line numbers where the exception is occurring. Along with the line numbers where exception is occurring. So it is very important to the developers. So we can exactly know where the exception has started, in which line number, so that we can go to that line number and rectify it. So this print stack trace method is important for developers. Got it everyone? These three methods. Any questions? Right, please recap. Please recap today's class, very important. Let me go with the assignment. Create a user defined exception, withdraw exception. Create a class account with a method withdraw, which takes amount and balance as arguments. If the amount is greater than balance, the amount what you have given is greater than balance, then it should throw withdraw exception with the message insufficient balance. So our own message, our own exception, our own messages. So try to do this one. So the concept of user defined will be easy for you. So any questions, anyone? Right. So tomorrow let us start off with one more new topic, multi-threading. So multi-threading also takes 2 classes. So the topics left out in core Java for us, is multi-threading. This will take 2 classes, collections, 2 classes, then Java 8 version features, 1 class, IO package, 1 class, SQL concepts, 1 class, then finally JDBC 1 class. Total 8 more classes left for us to complete core Java. After that, we'll be entering into the next category of our course, web technologies. Right? Thank you all.